regard to love. So we look at certain terms which are associated with the theory. So relational distress. So according to Chapman, there is a distress in a relationship when love is not expressed in the manner that a receiver expects it. That is the receiver's primary love language. So a primary love language is nothing but the prominent manner in which a person expresses or understands love. For example, somebody writes me a love letter. So because that person has expressed love in the written form, I am able to understand it, and I am able to perceive that, okay, this person is in love with me. So imagine that person had done something for me, or had taken me out for a dinner. Even though that person is showing love in a different manner, I might not process it as love because it is not my primary love language. So my primary love language is what I will instantly understand as, okay, this is love, this person loves me. So that is my primary love language. And dialects are nothing but the various techniques that come under a love language that can be used to express love. So for okay, I'll talk about it later. Now, love tank. So another concept mentioned by Gary Chapman is a love tank. So he says that every individual has a love tank, and obviously the fuel in this tank is love. So the level of fuel in this tank is very much fluctuating, and it is a very porous tank. So the fuel is emptied out very soon, and it requires frequent replenishing. So just like how the cell membrane in our body, it allows only selected nutrients to permeate through its membrane. Similarly, the love tank also allows only very few love languages to enter its tank. So all kinds of love are not allowed entry into the tank. Only very specific forms of love are allowed entry into the tank. So now grounded theory approaches. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed out. Love Nudge app. So this book, I told you, it released in the year 1992, and it was an instant hit. And it has been translated over the years into more than 50 languages. And Chapman has been called on different talk shows, and he has his own website, which is called the 5lovelanguages.com. And this Love Nudge app, it was in the year 2001 that this app was initiated. So it is an app which can be downloaded into your Android phones, and it will give you an it has the love languages test inbuilt in it. So if you take the test, you will get to know what is your love language, and also it will give you inbuilt messages on, or like remind on how to initiate your particular love language, and the link can be shared with your corresponding partner. So the alerts will go to both of you. So that is how the app works. Now, grounded theory approach, because I'm not really sure that people here are entirely from a psychology background. I'm going to explain what a grounded theory approach means. So a grounded theory approach means it is a variation of a qualitative approach. So how a qualitative study works is, you go to a person, you interview them, and you record whatever data they give you, and you go through the data a couple of times to identify themes that are repeating within their statements. So, and with that, you come to a conclusion that this is how this person understands this concept. It is the same way in which the grounded theory also works, but the only difference here is that as and when you are collecting the data, you are also analyzing the data. So the research or the data is actually grounded in real life data. That is, your data will legitimize your approach. So when you are using a grounded theory approach, you do not have an initial theory in mind. But as and when the data collection progresses, you will keep exploring. Does this theory fit my approach? Then if it does not, you will go for another theory. So finally, when all possible theories are exhausted, you will arrive at a perfect theory that fits your data. So that is a grounded theory approach. So the data is very much grounded within the approach. So that is how this theory was also developed. So Chapman was so this is the story of how the love languages was developed. So Gary Chapman was a religious counselor. So a religious counselor is somebody who does counseling for married couples within a parish. A parish is a segment of a church. So he was doing counseling for people who came to him at his church. And over the years, he started to notice that there was a pattern in the complaints that came to him. So The complaints were like, he never shows love to me. But when you would ask the husband would say, I try my best to show love to her, but she does not understand it. So that is when Chapman got the clue that, okay, though both of them are trying to communicate love, the other person does not understand it, because there is a medium for communicating love, in which that is specific to a person. That is only if you show it through this manner, then the person will understand it. So that is how he came up with these concepts of with the concept of a love language, and he started categorizing these complaints raised by the partners into these 5 categories, which we will talk about shortly. Okay, so the first love language is words of affirmation. Okay, so in words of affirmation, the focus is obviously on verbal communication, as the term sounds. So an individual with this love language will expect love in the form of words and the various dialects of. So yeah, I told you about dialects. So I told you that dialects are various techniques that come within a love language that you can use to communicate love. So the various dialects under a words of affirmation category would be supporting them through words, encouraging, appreciating, or affirming whatever they have to say, or acknowledging them. So these are dialects that come under the love language of words of affirmation. So in this love language, love can be expressed in the form of mails, texts, letters, and love notes. So an individual with this love language would prefer you to request them as opposed to you demanding or insisting something on them. And also an individual with this love language, a frequent complaint that is often raised by by people with this love language is that you never listen to what I have to say, or you never spend time on the phone with me, or you do not appreciate me enough. So if these are the sort of complaints that your partner raises to you frequently, you can understand that, okay, so this person falls under the words of affirmation category. So I am supposed to express love to this person through words, through verbal communication. Okay, and harsh words or words that hurt them, verbal abuse, criticism, etc., are strict no-no for such individuals. And research has proven that when you employ affirmative words in your communication, it helps to improve the cognitive functions. So cognitive functions, I'm saying it for the people who are not from a psychology background. A cognition is anything to do with the brain. That is the brain processes, which include thinking, reasoning, problem solving, decision making, creativity, etc. So when you employ words of affirmation, research has shown that the frontal lobe of your brain, which takes care of these cognitive functions, it is activated and the functions are strengthened. So an individual with words of affirmation as their love language, they would prefer an adult to adult interaction. So I told you that these people, one second. Okay, Rex is requesting to annotate the shared content. I'm not sure what do. Okay, that's gone. Okay, right. So, like I told you, an individual with words of affirmation is their love language. They would prefer an adult to adult interaction. That is, when you have to talk to them, you talk to them in an equal manner. That you treat that person as an equal. When you have something to say to them or ask of them, you pose it in the manner of a request rather than you demand them that you do it this way, or you insist that no, I like it this way and it should be done. Should be these are words that you shouldn't be using with a person who has words of affirmation as their love language. They would prefer requests and an adult to adult level interaction. So I hope this love language was clear. So I'm going to the second love language, that is acts of service, or it is also called selfless acts. So this is an everyday love language which comprises of actions, your daily life routine tasks and gestures. This language in particular, it is highly time consuming and highly exhaustive in nature. For individuals who have this love language, it is the actions that hurt more compared to the words. So a person who expects this love language, it might appear that they are slightly dependent or demanding to the other person. that is, their behavior might appear slightly clingy to us. We might come to the conclusion, we might assume that why is this person not able to do even this, even the small task? We might try to demean them, or their behavior or their requests may sound as they're trying to be dependent on us. So that is a problem with this love language. And research has also shown that when a person uses acts of service as their love language, it leads to an activation of the reward centers of the brain. So that will basically render us the emotion of pleasure. So, okay, I'm going to ask you people to please type in the chat box. Can you think of a few dialects for this love language, just to see that you are keeping with me, that you are understanding the concept? Can you think of a few dialects for acts of service? How can I express my love through acts of service? I'm going to wait for your replies in the chat box. Okay, husband helping in everyday chores. Yeah. Hugs. Okay, hugs. I'm not sure how it comes under acts of service. Wife cooking for her husband or vice versa. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I can, yeah, getting or asking help for daily activities. Yes, that's right. So I can see that you guys are in tune with the concept. Okay, so other examples of acts of service can be cleaning utensils or taking out the trash, warming up the car, taking the dog out for a walk, help with an important project, etc. There's so many ways through which you can show it. Yeah, okay, household scores. Okay, it is household chores. Shall I help you in your project? Yeah, yes. Reminding, okay, maybe reminding them to do something. Okay, shall I cook on Sundays and give you a free day? Okay, that is a lovely love language. Okay, right. So I can see that you guys have understood it. So I go to the next love language. That is quality time. Okay, so this love language, it focuses on spending meaningful quality time together. So like the term sounds, the focus here is not on the amount of time spent together, but it is on the meaningfulness of the time that is spent together. So couples can choose to do a mutually enjoyable activity that is equally interesting for both. So the idea here is that couples have to choose on an activity that is equally interesting for both of them. It is not that one person enjoys it and the other person is least interested in doing it. That does not make it quality time. Both of them have to be equally interested and they should enjoy it equally. And also sitting in the same room and looking at your phones lost in your individual worlds, that is definitely not quality time. So putting away the phones is a must for quality time. And a complaint that is often raised by people who have this love language is that you never have time for me. You are always busy. You have time for your office work, but you never spend time with me. So when these are the sort of complaints that your partner frequently raises, you can get an idea that, okay, this person's love language might be quality time. Okay, so quality time, it involves undivided attention that is focused on your spouse, and it is centered on togetherness. So in this love language, the emotional connect between the two individuals is very important for each of them to appraise the time spent together as quality enriched. And also, self disclosure is a very important aspect of quality time. So a self-disclosure is me engaging in an open heart talk with my spouse or my partner. So it involves empathetic and reflective listening that involves open and warm talk. So I have to be empathetically attentive to what my partner is trying to convey to me, and I have to reflect on it in the same manner. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to ask for dialects for this. I am sure you guys will know. So the fourth love language is physical touch. Okay, I'm so sorry. Morning prayers together, doing yoga. I think this is for quality time. Yes, sir, it falls under the category of quality time. Okay. So the fourth love language is physical touch. So before I explain to you the love language, I'll talk about this experiment which was done in the late 1940s in the United States. So they selected 20 babies and they were assigned into two categories. So the first category, that is the experimental group, it is a term in psychology. It had 10 babies and the control group had 10 babies. So the experimental group babies, the instructions given to the researchers were that the babies had to be attended to. That is, they had to be properly fed on time, bathed and all. But it was they had to take care that the touch and eye contact with the babies had to be very minimal. That they had to just go bathe and feed the baby and come back. They were not supposed to do anything more than that. Like showing any form of affection to the baby was not allowed. But for the control group babies, they were asked to show them affection in whatever way possible. That is, they had to take time and feed the baby and take time and bathe the baby. It had to be done in such a way that maximum amount of bonding was there between the researchers and the second category of babies. So the experiment was actually designated for a time period of 4 months. But sadly, after the first month itself, all the babies in the first category, that is the experimental group, who received but let's say a minimal amount of touch, all the babies, sadly, they passed away. So it was concluded that even though the babies were fed on time, the temperatures of their bedding and everything was set in the right manner for both of them, their needs were being met. These babies, sadly, they had to experience death because there was no bonding. That is, the phenomena of touch was very minimal there. So this was a very unethical experiment that was done long back. So why I am saying this experiment is to demonstrate the importance of being touched. So touch is one of the first senses that we acquire when we not acquire, or that is demonstrated to us when we come into the world. So touch is a very important sense. Okay. So individuals with this love language, that is physical touch, they prefer love that is tactile. And that does not mean it is always sensual. So this is the physical expression of love. And it is also a non-verbal love language that focuses on intimacy. So can you type in a few dialects that may come under under this physical touch love language in the chat box? Like, how all can I show my love through physical touch? Yeah, hugs, kisses, yeah, hugging. Any more? Patting, yeah. Yeah, holding hands, yes. Okay, right. So I can see, yeah, okay. Gentle massage, oh, okay, wow. Expressing love through touch, yes. Holding hands while walking, okay, yeah, right. Okay, so I can see that you guys have understood it. Okay, so it is not, like I told you, it is always not focused on the sexual act of that comes under the physical touch. It can be simpler, milder forms such as holding hands, cuddling, laying your head on the shoulder, hugging, and it can also be the more intimate forms. Okay, so this is the love language that is considered exclusive in terms of intimacy to a marital relationship. That is, the extreme form of a physical touch is actually to be exclusive to a marital relationship, but in recent days it is not the case. But let's not go there. Okay, so tactile reassurance is an important aspect of all relationships, which can be beneficial during times of sorrow or grief, and on a pat on the back to signify appreciation and encouragement. So these are also the other dialects. Okay, more okay. Wrap around the shoulder, just a firm handhold, handshake. Yeah. So all these are dialects. Okay, so now a major disadvantage of this love language is that it is highly deteriorating as time passes. That is, this is the expression of love language that is expressed in the highest level at the initial stages of a relationship, be it a romantic relationship or even a marriage. But as time passes by, this particular love language, the expression level comes down, or this is often taken for granted. And also, individuals with this love language, they are highly sensitive to physical abuse and the trauma that is a resultant of it. So there is also a culture difference that plays an important role with respect to this love language. So in Western cultures or in individualistic cultures, a more open expression of physical love is seen. And in Asian countries, especially in India, a more restrictive expression of love is seen, wherein we prefer love to be expressed or confined indoors, or we prefer it in private. I'm not saying that is the case for everybody, but I think that is more socially not appropriate but acceptable. Okay, so there is a culture difference with respect to this. So I hope this is clear. Now we'll go to the last love language. So the fifth love language is receiving gifts. Okay, so just like how I told you about physical touch, this love language also is seen mostly during the initial romantic stage of a relationship, and after that it is often brushed under the carpet, or it is considered unnecessary in a relationship. So this love language, it involves surprising your partner, and this is a very visible form of affection. That is, you can something that you can touch and feel. Okay, so this is the love language that can be creatively expressed, and it is not the gifting or the present or that is the focus of this love language, but it is the creative thought that is considered relevant behind the love language. So the fact that you were paying attention to what I said, that I had once maybe said that, okay, I would like the complete set of Harry Potter books, and you paid attention to it. I might have said this long back, but then you bought this for me. So the fact that you were paying attention to my conversation and you bought it for me, so the thought or the effort that goes behind the presenting is what matters in this love language. And some individuals, they look at this love language as a form of they look at it as a greedy perspective, that if I say that my love language is receiving gifts, then they immediately tend to classify me as, okay, she's very materialistic, or she's very flamboyant and showing off. They immediately tend to place me in that category. So this love language, it need not always involve expensive presenting or spending in terms of money. Sometimes the mere presence of an individual itself can be considered as a gift. So imagine it is a time of distress. Somebody near to me has passed away. The very presence of my partner next to me saying that, okay, I am here for you, that itself is a gift to me. It does not have to be something that is tactile or something that I can hold on to. Okay. And this is also a love language that is highly subjected to comparison in terms of finance. Like I told you that she bought her husband bought a car for her. You didn't even buy me a keychain, a car's keychain. Okay, so these sort of comparisons, it is very common with this love language. So these are the 5 love languages. I hope it was clear to you. So the 5 love languages were words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time, physical touch, and the last one was receiving gifts. Okay, right. So now we look into, how do I know what is my love language? Okay, so these are few questions that will help you to identify what is your love language. So how would you define love? How do you show and expect love from your spouse? What do you complain most often about? So I told you, for a person with quality time as their love language, a frequent complaint raised by them is, you always have time to do every other work, but you never make time for me. So complaints, though they are irritating, they are very essential source or very important sources of information that will help you to understand what a person's love language is. Okay, and how do you usually solve problems in your relationship? So it is in the human nature that whenever there is a fight and you're trying to resolve the fight, you try to do what is pleasing to the other person, so that when if the person is pacified with that, then you can get an idea that, okay, so this could be the love language of that person. Okay, and what hurts you the most with respect to the relationship? So I told you that a complaint raised, what, for a person with words of affirmation as their love language, it is the words that will hurt more than the action. So if you criticize them, it might hurt more than you not taking them out or or anything. Okay, so the complaint or what is hurting them most will give you an idea of what is their love language. So if these questions still do not help you to find out what is your love language, then you can go for the method of elimination. That is, you list down all the 5 love languages, and you ask yourself, if I could take off two or three love languages from this list, which would it be? So then you tick off the 3, then you will be left with 2. So you can choose between the 2, which is a prominent form of expression that I used to love, or which is the manner in which I expect. So that will give you an idea. And if you're still not sure of which is your love language, then I suggest that you go for the 5-week experiment. So that is, the first week you use words with your partner, then the second week acts, third time, and fourth touch, and fifth gifts. So then you try to find out in which week did you find that your partner was the most satisfied. So then you will get an idea of, okay, so then this is the love language of the person. Okay, so, and if you are still not able to identify your love language, then I suggest that you take 5 love languages quiz. So this quiz, it is given by Chapman at the end of the book. So the 5 love languages book, you will find it at the last page. So this is not a scientifically validated scale, and it is also an ipsative scale. So an ipsative scale is a scale which has 2 options which are equally socially desirable. So it makes it difficult. So if I feel an equal affinity for both the options, it makes it difficult for me to identify which is my love language. Okay. So this quiz is also available on the website. So you can take the quiz to know which is your love language. So the results of the quiz would look something like this. So this is my result actually. So this is how it appears. So my love language is words of affirmation, which stands at 40%. And you can see that physical touch and quality time is at 20%. Acts of service is 17, and receiving gifts is hardly there. It is only 3%. So this is how the result appears in the website. It will give you the percentage, and it will give you a description of the love language, and it will also tell you how do you practice this love language. Okay. Now we'll talk about what are the disadvantages, or how has this concept been abused over the years. Okay. So the biggest okay ma'am, the website is 5lovelanguages.com. I'll type that. 5lovelanguages.com. Yeah. So the biggest disadvantage of this book is that people use this concept to preach it to others without completely reading the book or without fully understanding it. So especially now, this is very common that when you go to a marital therapist, they refer this concept to you. That they ask you, they say you to practice the love languages, but it is most of the times it is the case that that person themselves wouldn't have read the book, or they wouldn't have understood the concept completely. So, beyond stating the 5 love languages, Chapman also talked about attentiveness and self regulation. So, a very common practice is that people tend to focus on the 5 love languages, and then they leave off these 2 aspects, that is, attentiveness and self regulation. So, attentiveness and self regulation, I'm going to explain that to you. So Chapman stressed on the fact that you must pay attention to the complaints or hurt feelings and expectations of your partner. So that is attentiveness. I'm paying attention to the complaints and hurts feelings of my partner. And self-regulation is when I pay attention to my partner, I will understand that, okay, this is my partner's love language. Self-regulation is me making a conscious decision to act in the way that conveys love to my partner. Me acting in accordance with my partner's love language. So that is self-regulation, a modification in my behavior. That is self-regulation. Okay. So these 2 concepts, it is often left out when people explain the concept of 5 languages to other people. Okay. And also, an ethos shift is a sudden shift which happens over the generations, a perspective shift. Okay. So an ethos shift, an example would be like how in black and white times, the concept was that if something went wrong with the relationship, That is, if something is broken, you try to repair and reuse it. But now the concept is of a use and throw, that if something does not work out, then you immediately go for the D word. Okay, that is a divorce. So that is an ethos shift. So in respect to the concept of a love language, the ethos shift is that before, the idea was that you identify the love language of your partner and you start initiating it. But now, over the years, the concept has been abused to such a great extent that now what people understand is that, okay, I need to find out what my love language is, and then I have to find out a person who has a similar love language, or I have to force my partner to follow my love language. So that is the ethos shift which has happened in terms of this love language. Okay, and another disadvantage is that people often use this concept as a means of asking what they, as a way to ask for what they need. So when I understand that words of affirmation is my love language, I immediately go and tell my partner that from now on, this is how you're supposed to express. I'll explain the whole love languages concept to them with this self-centered idea in my mind that, okay, if I tell my partner this concept, then he'll start expressing love as in how I need. Okay, so there is a selfish motive to it. So that is a disadvantage. And also, some people say that love should be expressed in the natural way that it comes to you. So love must flow. That is how people talk about love. But sorry, that is not what Chapman said. Chapman said that love is a conscious effort wherein I try to make modifications in my behavior when I understand that my partner's love language is something else, which might not be exactly what I was doing all over the years. If it was a different thing, then I make a conscious change in my behavior. Okay, so love is not always natural. And also, like I told you, people read the book to find out their love language and they are done with it. But sorry, no, that is not the end. It is only the beginning. Finding your love language is fine, but then you need to find out what the love language is of your partner is, and you need to start following it. So that is the message of the book. So now Julie Gottman's criticism. So Julie Gottman is a very important person that can be found in the field of psychology with respect to theories of marriage. So the Gottman's theory of a sound relationship house theory. I'm sorry. Is somebody asking something? Okay. Right. So Gottman's sound house relationship theory is a very famous theory in the area of marriage. So they had criticized this theory quite enough. So I'm going to explain that. So Julie Gottman, I'm assuming she is Gottman's wife. So she had said that a love language can vary within a context, and certain love languages are meaningful in certain contexts. So like I told you, in the event of a death, the love language that a person would expect is a reassuring pat on the shoulder, or somebody saying that I am there for you. In that moment, the love language expected wouldn't be receiving gifts. So what she said was that a love language should be in tune with the context, and it should vary within the context. So that was the first criticism. And the second criticism was that she said that at certain times, even if you express love, it can feel inadequate. For example, imagine that I'm waiting for my partner to propose me, and I'm waiting for a ring, but he comes and he places the ring of a keychain onto my finger. So even though that is also a gift, it can feel inadequate to me because that was not the gift that I expected. Okay, so sometimes even if you express love in the love language of a person, it can feel inadequate to them. So that was the second. So the third was, she also said that at times, once the primary love language is identified, it can lead to a pigeonholing effect. So pigeonholing effect is, if I understand that my partner's love language is acts of service, then from tomorrow onwards, I will ensure that everything is ready and proper, and everything is in its place. I'll not give any chance for him to ask for it. So this becomes a routine for me. I keep things in order and place for him, but I forget to follow all the other four love languages. So that is a pigeonholing effect. If I come to realize something, then that becomes my default method of following. Okay, so that it leads to a restrictive, a narrower expression of love. Okay, And the next criticism was that she said that some love languages are essential in everyday life. So what she said was that every day you must have quality of time. Every day acts of service and physical touch must be there. So you cannot actually term it as a love language. It is something that is a part of your routine life. So that was the next criticism. Okay, she has criticized a lot. And the next was, sometimes a particular love language can appear to be demanding on the partner. So an example is, imagine an individual with a childhood history of sexual or a physical abuse, and that person is still in the trauma of it. If that person's partner has a love language of physical touch, then that can be a demand on the person, that that person might not be able to show it. And similarly for autistic people also, if they have a partner whose love language is physical touch, it becomes difficult for the autistic person to express it. Okay. Oh, okay. So these were all the criticisms that she said. But the irony here is that, so I told you that they have a very famous theory called sound relationship house theory. So their theory talks about a relationship in terms of a house with 7 levels. So the first level talks about me identifying my partner's love map. Okay, so the love map is a very similar concept to the love language. It is me trying to find out what are the expectations of my partner, me attending to their needs. Okay, so it is a very similar concept to the love language. So the irony here is that though they were actually criticizing the love languages theory, their own theory's foundation level actually talked about the love languages. According to their theory, only if you build the first level, then you can proceed to the second level. So their foundation itself was the love languages that they were actually criticizing. Okay, so yeah. The next disadvantage, so I told you that Chapman's actual message was that you need to identify the love language of your partner and follow it. But the common misperception is that I have to identify my love language and then find somebody who has a similar love language, or I force the partner to follow it. Then Chapman's qualification. So Chapman has his MA in anthropology and his PhD is in religious education and theology. So I told you that he was a religious counselor. So people criticize it, saying that he is actually not qualified to do marital counseling. His theory has more of a religious perspective, and it actually does not fit within the concept of within the field of psychology. And some people even regard it as psychobabble. So psychobabble is something that a theory that just pops out of air. Okay, so something that is made up. So that is how some people regard this theory. So that these are the disadvantages of the concept. Okay, now some final words to be said. So this theory, it reflects the humanistic existential perspective. So the humanistic theory states that with respect to a relationship, it states that you should take delight in the uniqueness of your partner and not demean them in any way. So like I told you, if I understand that my partner's love language is acts of service, rather than looking at it as, oh, he's so dependent on me, or he's so childish, or he's so irresponsible, I must take delight in the fact that, okay, he has such a unique love language. Okay, so I must take delight in the fact, and I shouldn't be using this concept. I shouldn't be using this concept for any self-centered agendas. Okay, I shouldn't be using my partner to meet my emotional needs. Okay, and the second is that this concept, it reflects healthy love in which the concern is for my partner's well-being rather than for myself. And the um, the individuality of my partner, that is well respected, that all their idiosyncrasies are also accepted, and I am not treating them with any humiliation or contempt. So my partners need to be loved in a particular way. I am respecting it rather than um, humiliating them. Okay, so when the love language of a partner is followed, we might actually think that according to this theory, okay, it looks like the benefactor of according to this theory is only the other person, but it is not that case. When I start following the love language of my partner, it actually leads to a change within myself. Okay, it leads to a kind of a awakening of wisdom. That is the kind of feeling that happens within me. And if you have to follow the love language, it requires that you have to be kind and disciplined. Only then you can follow the love language. So there is, like I told you, there is a conscious choice of effort for having to expend one's energy on another. That I must take this choice, that I am willing to expend energy for my partner, or you wouldn't actually get the genuine satisfaction of having truly loved your partner. Okay, and also when you have to follow a love language that doesn't come naturally to you. For example, imagine that my partner's love language is acts of service, and I am a person who has been trained to be very independent from childhood. I do my things on my own. I don't like people doing things for me. So imagine my partner's love language is acts of service. So it is not a love language that comes naturally to me. So if that is the situation, rather than thinking that why now I have to do this for this person, rather than thinking of it as a burden, I have to actually find comfort by thinking that I am able to love this person in a greater form. That is my love language. I should be considering it as a greater expression of love. Okay. And I told you that. So love languages can be a challenge to the individual, wherein it requires them to step out of their comfort zones. It can require you to sacrifice your ego, and couples with aligned love languages, that is, I and my partner, both of us have the same love language. Even then people can experience incompatibility. So incompatibility is not two people having different love languages, but it is the unwillingness of a person to initiate learning, that I am not willing to learn the love language of my partner. So that is actually an incompatibility with regard to the love languages. Okay. So the last thing I would like to say is that, so love languages, like I told you, it is still not accepted as a psychological construct within the field of psychology. I told you the various criticisms that are being laid against the theory. There is no proper tool to assess the love language of a person. So further validation and exploration of this construct is required. So future recommendation. So I actually joined for PhD with the idea that I must be doing my PhD on love languages, but then something happened and I couldn't do it. But I have done 2 qualitative studies on the same, but my sample was very limited. It was hardly 15 people. So based on those studies, these are my future recommendations. So gender slanting. So one of the studies that can be done in future is to identify if there is a particular affinity for a love language with respect to genders. For example, like women prefer words of affirmation or men prefer acts of service. That kind of study has not been done. So that can be done. And a transition in the love language, that is, as like during the lifespan of a person, is there a transition in the love language? That is, when I was a kid, I have a particular love language. When I reach my adulthood, my love language changes, and then when I get married, does it change? That study can also be done. And a shift in the love language. So this is a situation thing. So for example, imagine a lady who had words of affirmation as her love language, but then after marriage and she has 3 kids, suddenly her love language could be acts of service. The love language that she expects from her husband could be acts of service. So that is a situational thing. So that study can be done. And universality of the construct, whether the love languages, the concept, does it apply to all cultures? That study can be done. Then the Indian love languages. So I told you that my initial idea for PhD was I wanted to find out what were the Indian love languages. So in the studies that the 2 studies that I did, the only love language that came new was fidelity. So fidelity, I am not really sure that whether I should be placing it under the category of love. It looks like more of a trust dialect to me. But then that was the only love language that came out new. A lady reported to me that she expresses her love to her husband by being trustable, that she knew her limits with other men. So this was the kind of response that she said. So the only way I could classify it was fidelity. So I'm not sure of that. So future studies can be done to find out specific Indian love languages. And like I told you, though incompatibility is my unwillingness to learn my partner's love language, whether there are actually love languages that are completely incompatible, that these two love languages will never go together. That study can be done. And also, like how we talk about sex education must be a part of the curriculum, I also recommend that premarital education be part of our curriculum with specific importance to the love languages. So it can be included as an elective paper in a college level also. So that these are my future recommendations. And these are the references that I have used. Of course, I've used many more references, listing out the main. Blend with this. A happy marriage is about three things: memories of togetherness, forgiveness of mistakes, and a promise to never give up on each other. Thank you so much. Okay, now I'll take questions if there are any. Okay, any longitudinal studies? No, sir. No, no studies. I mean, no particular longitudinal study has been done so far. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, yes.
Ma'am, the second love language, no, acts of service and selfless act.
Or
So,
selfless acts. Yes.
yes. So, I was not very clear about it. So, just can you give one example? If a person is having a love language of this, how
Yeah.
would they behave? Like,
Yeah, okay. So if my partner's love language is acts of service, so their expectations might differ. Okay, it can be subjective. So the husband might expect the wife to iron his clothes and keep it ready on the bed, that the shoe be polished, his watch and tie and everything be in place before he leaves for the office. Though he can do such things on his own, that is how he prefers it to be done. So that is how he, if such things are done before he asks for it, then he considers it as love. For a wife, it can be help with doing the dishes, or like somebody mentioned that on Sundays the husband does the cooking. So such things. So these are the dialects of acts of service. So that
so,
something be done for them. Something be done for me without me asking for it.
okay. So,
Okay.
selfless means like without
Selfless
any
means
selfishness, without any
selfless means
selfishness.
see, like I told you, why can't he do it on his own? After all, it is just a matter of taking his tie or just polishing his shoe. So there, if I am responding in such a manner, then that means that I am placing myself first. But if I am selfless, then it means that even though it is slightly irritating for me, because this is how my husband understands love, I do it for him. So that is selfless. That is me placing others before me. I am more concerned about others rather than about me. Yeah, basically not being selfish.
I think two things comes there, right, ma'am? Both positive and negative, right?
Yes, yes, it is
Service, yeah.
positive and negative. Yeah, because like I told you, so this Chapman, he is a person with a religious background of Christianity. Okay, so the main difference between psychology and Christianity is that in psychology we always talk about taking care of ourselves. We always place the self first. But when it comes to Christianity, it is always the others that comes first. So this theory might sound slightly not okay for us, but like I told you, the theory, it originates from a Christian perspective. So that is why it is not negative. It is just a slight discomfort of we are not able to place the other person first before us.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. If one of the partner is having incompatibility in one of his love language, how the other person? Okay, so I think what Shiv Kumar sir is asking is if I am not able to follow the love language of my partner. So it's just like I told you, sir, if you have to follow the love language, it requires that you be kind and disciplined. And you have to make conscious effort. Like I told you, some love languages, it does not come naturally to a person. But if you have to show love to your spouse, and if in a manner that they understand, then you should make the conscious choice of doing it. So it requires effort. I hope that was what you asked. Okay, and also some people might have this doubt that if one person keeps on doing what is not okay with them, and the other person is not reciprocating it, so that is also another disadvantage of this theory, that it doesn't talk about a time limit, that how long should I keep doing this for the other person. It does not talk about it. Is this theory is not time bound. It talks about you have to do it for as long as it matters to you. Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, Asha. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So my doubt is that is it possible for one particular individual to have more than one love language?
Yes. So I failed to mention that actually. So there is something called a secondary love language also. Like a primary love language, there is also a secondary love language. So when you take the test, like for me, you saw that words of affirmation was at 40%, and quality of time and acts of service, it was both at the same percentage. For some people, the first love language, that is the primary itself, comes at equal percentages. But that is actually um, let's say a fault of the tool. It is not actually possible, but some people feel that no, I'm not really able to choose between both. But I think that it is an advantage for their partner, that they have another alternative also for them to follow a love language. Yeah, it is possible that a person can have more than one love language, a primary love language.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. What happens? People keep divorcing, getting married again, divorcing. Okay, so the like my first slide itself, it was why do marriages fail? So the reason for marriages failing itself is that we keep using the love language, that is we keep using our love language. Okay, so love language that comes naturally to us, but we are not paying attention to what the love language of the other person is. So either person is getting their emotional needs fulfilled from other source, or they think that this person is never going to express love in the way that I want it. So that is the reason why divorces happen, and they marry another person and they keep doing the same thing. So the basic idea here is that you have to find out where is this fundamental problem, the root cause, what exactly is going wrong. So if that can be identified, then I think a remarriage is not necessary. Okay, how all this works in a distance relationship, or the partner is in another place. Okay, yeah. So for a distance relationship, among the 5 love languages, 2 of these do not apply. So that is quality time and obviously physical touch. So I suggest that you go for the other 3 love languages. You use the other 3 to your maximum, and hopefully when the other person comes back, you can use the other 2. You use the other 3 for now, and when the person comes back, you use the other 2. How to deal with a workaholic husband? Workaholic husband. Okay, so if that person's, so I can only answer this question if I know what the love language of the workaholic husband is. So I suggest that you follow the love language of the workaholic husband. I'm assuming that this person's love language is quality time. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I told you that this theory's focus is not on the self, but it is on the other person. So please initiate following the love language of your husband. Hopefully someday he'll realize and he'll reciprocate it back.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, I'm asking, this
Yes.
love language, is it like a therapy? Does it come under any therapy, or it is just
Um,
out of psychology?
No,
What is that?
no, ma'am. Like I told you, the very construct itself, it is not accepted within psychology. Psychology does not
Okay,
accept it as a scientific construct. So we have to keep doing research for it to be included in this field. So it is not actually a therapy. Let's
okay,
say that it is something that can be used in a spiritual therapeutic session. But now that
okay,
we are aware of this concept, we can initiate it in within our family. You need not go to a therapist for them to tell you that okay, this is your love language, you better start following it. No, if you go through the theory, you read the book, you take the quiz, you yourself will you will be able to identify it for yourselves, what is yours and your partner's love language. So you can initiate it. You can use the various dialects to initiate it. I don't think you have to wait to go for therapy to initiate
okay.
it.
So
Yeah.
what this can be put it under? Like the term is like love language therapy or love language
No,
counseling.
it is only
What can I call it,
love
like,
language.
to
You
know?
can you
Oh,
can
love
call it
language.
a medium for communication. This is just
Okay, love
another
language.
technique for communication.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Mm. Some women need only their husband's care and love, and not their parents' mother. And is this come? Okay, so this love language, it is strict for now. For today's presentation, I was talking in the context of love between a husband and a wife. This love language concept, it applies for everybody who is there in your life for a considerable amount of time. Okay, so I hope a mother-in-law comes under that category. So yes, if you can identify what the love language of your mother-in-law is and you can initiate it, that is a great thing. It is not just for romantic partners, or it is not just for boyfriend girlfriend, or not for husbands and wives. It is for everybody who is there in a committed relationship with you.
Ma'am, sorry. Again, I wanted to ask one question.
No,
For
that's okay.
example, if a husband is not spending a quality time with a wife,
Okay.
so does that also? I'm just finding it okay. My husband is not spending the quality time. He doesn't like to spend time. So
Uh-huh.
does it also come under the quality time? So the love language of my husband not spending time is also coming under a quality time love language of him.
No, that is actually a complaint raised in the love husband not spending time. I think the love language of the husband must be something different. Then he must be using some other way to express love to you. Your love
So that will
language
come
would be
under
quality
my.
time. So your
Okay,
love
so
language is quality time, not your
okay,
husband's.
he's not spending, so I tell it. So it is
That is
my.
your love language. Yes.
Okay, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So then uh, what
What is the love
my
language
husband
of
will
your
come under?
husband?
Ah,
I'm not.
that point. So that is
I'm
not
not.
at all for him, right? Then
No, 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 no. It is
it
not
is
for
for
him.
me.
If
It's
you
my
are
language.
complaining
Oh,
that my husband doesn't spend time with me, then that is your love language.
my language. Okay, ma'am. Understood.
Okay.
Understood.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All these five languages look like do's and don'ts from the perspective of counseling, problem counseling or a helping counselor. The thing is, there is also a meta language which includes all these languages and goes beyond it, which says I trust in each other. Whatever way we communicate, we accept. We don't have a breakage. That comes the majority of the people who live very happy and contented life. So if you take those experiences together, perhaps these languages may not matter at all.
Yes. So, sir, it is not that only love languages will help a relationship to prosper, or that is the only thing which will lead to marital satisfaction. It is one of the techniques that can be used to enhance marital satisfaction. Of course, there are other techniques for enhancing marital satisfaction. This is only one of the basic techniques. That is, this is the most easiest way of resolving a marital conflict. This is not the only way to resolve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, it is a very good session as per my understanding.
Thank you, sir.
Question and answer session, usually we'll have a moderator, and without them, I think you have spontaneously taken up the questions and given the answer. And
Thank you.
I feel that the appropriate answers are very clear about that. So today's topic is about one of the medium, not a psychological, it's not a therapy, it is a strategy they can use for enhancing their relationship. Lovely input.
Thank you.
Our amazing presentation today. Now I request Salim sir for a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Suresh sir. It's my pleasure to give the vote of thanks today. So it was a very nice session, Asha ma'am. The title itself, it was different. Mend it, don't end it. So it
Thank
started
you.
with, I think, French word, come and come or something. So in that itself, we understand the love language, how we are dealing with our partners. So it's not a very good eye-opening. So on the five language, like Chapler's this thing, words, gift and touch, act and time. So it was very well explained by you in the more than our session. So we understand we have to give the which percentage in our own life. We have to find the thing. For example, it is a word or it's a gift, it's a time or act. That's depend on individuals. So you very well explained that one. So it was a very
Thank
good
you.
session, ma'am. And qualitative, not only qualitative, it's very quantitative also. And of course, you've done some research, no, gender slanting and transition, shifting, and all those things. Probably it's a budding area, Thursday area. Probably future researchers can concentrate on this gender slanting also. I think so.
Yes.
And of
Yeah.
course, Indian language, love language also. It is a very good. It will be useful for this thing. So only thing we understand the expression and expectation. That is the whole matter, I think.
Yes,
What we are
sir.
expecting and what we are expressing.
Expressing.
So
Yeah.
that is the formula for the love language: expression and
Yes.
expectation. Nice inputs, man. So
Thank you so
we
much,
want
sir.
to, yeah, we want to thank you to you and all the participants today who are presented, and on behalf of American College Madurai and Madras School of Social Work Chennai and Department of Psychology, Madurai Kamarajuru University, MS Chellamuthi Institute of Rehabilitation Center, Madurai, and Red Pond Education Institute, last but one, Psycho-Oncological Association, Turkey. So thank you one and all. Thank you, Asha ma'am. It was a wonderful session. So
Thank you so
and
much.
very useful to the everybody's life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for the opportunity, and thank you, participants, for your active participation in the chat box. First, I was really disheartened that there's nobody, but I'm really happy that I have such a good number, and your interaction, it has really supported me. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I will meet tomorrow with another session. Join with your friends and family. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Asha, for accepting when I called you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.